Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 292 of A Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels, coming to you from Sandusky, Ohio, and I'm thrilled that you're listening. I'm going to be joined in a moment by my mate, Myk Aussie, and we're going to be reviewing the grand final as well as providing some, quite frankly, unsolicited parenting tips. We got into a rather interesting conversation, and this went down a bit of a rabbit hole. And Craig McRae, it's all about you, sir, and good on you. Just an absolutely fantastic story about the morning of the grand final, and wish you nothing but the best. Now, folks, love to share your most memorable game. If you have one that you're never going to forget, and Mick's going to introduce a couple of his during this episode to kind of prime the pump there as far as that goes here. But if you got a game that you played in that you're never going to forget, or one that you saw, whether it be at the AFL level or down at the local level, maybe it's one that you kicked the winning goal to win a flag for your Colt reserve team or whatever the case may be, I'd love to chat with you about that. So reach out to me over on my website, ayankonthefooty.com, and drop me a note or send me an email at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com and tell me about it. I'd love to get you on here. I'm also going to be starting to do a series of what I'm calling post-mortem discussions with as many of the groups that I previewed the season with this year, and some of them I've not been able to reach out to, but I'm going in different directions, but wanting to talk to supporters of clubs that did not make the finals to find out what went wrong, what do they think went wrong, what could be fixed, and where do they think they're going to be next year. And not really a preview so much as we're getting ready to go into the trade period and the draft, and we're not going to have any final decisions being made with those things for quite some time yet. But folks, if you want to help out the podcast, you certainly can do that. Go to my website, leave a review. That would be wonderful. Remember, I'm still trying to hand out some of these stickers for the podcast. If you're interested in getting one of those, leave me a great 5-star review, then drop me a note over on my website or by email. Share your address with me so I can get one of those stickers out to you. I really want to share those out with everyone. Again, you can reach me at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com. I'm on all the socials as well. Now, today's club of the episode came to me from my mate, Jackson Miller, reached out the other day, and they are the Queenstown Crows of the Darwin Football Association in Tasmania. Now, I remember reading an article about this club and thinking, you've got to be kidding me. I couldn't believe what I was reading, but this is a unique club because their home oval isn't covered with grass, but rather compressed gravel. Yes, they're playing basically on rocks. And I've seen some of the images that the players are finishing up games with skin knees, if they're lucky. But like I said, they've played on this gravel for over a century. And due to it being a very active mining area for many, many decades. Now, I couldn't remember where it was located. So I appreciate Jackson pointing this out to me because I think it's a huge help. And it's great to be able to give this club a shout out. They did drop their grand final game to the South Burnie Hawks recently, but it was a great season for the Crows, and I wish them all the best going into 2024. And hopefully they have a steadily increasing and healthy supply of Band-Aids because I think they're going to need them. But I tip my cap to these hard-nosed players because it's phenomenal that they're able to play this game in that type of a setting. So let's go ahead and jump into my chat with Myk Aussie, and we'll talk about the grand final. And like I said, we'll give some unsolicited parenting tips. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by my mate, Myk Aussie. It is Monday evening here in North America, and he's actually at home rather than in his undisclosed location. How are you doing there, sir?
Yes, mate, it is a holiday here, and well, it was a very good grand final. I'm not going to call it great, but very, very good, very close. The Sharon, beautiful, sunny, hot day. I love the day games. But yeah, very exciting grand final. Absolutely. Congratulations to the Collywobbles. Well, I probably shouldn't call them Collywobbles now, should I?
They did not wobble. They were, I've only watched a handful of grand finals. I've watched the 89 grand final on replay, and I've watched a little bit here and there of other ones. And the 89 grand final, I still think, that there could be some assault charges that believe the statute of limitations have not run out on that could be filed against a couple of players from that game yet. They could find themselves, in a penal colony in Australia there, maybe they'd send them to do they send them to New if and I guess maybe I should ask if an Australian prisoner has to get sent somewhere, where do they send them? Because I know that's kind of how Australia got settled by the people coming from England, but the English settlers came there, but do they send them anywhere else? Do they send them to New Zealand or
Probably. No, the outback probably. No,
Okay,
there'd be a few
well,
people hiding in the outback for sure. You could
well,
hide in the outback of Australia for years if you wanted to, I think. But the reason I don't say it was a great grand final, like it was an excellent grand final. It was very exciting. Absolutely, it was. The lead changing so many times.
Yep, Leach, changing so many times. Yeah, absolutely.
Exciting.
Yeah.
But the second half, let's be honest, it was very defensive. It was possession, keep possession. And I understand that you don't want to turn the ball over. But think of the times that Brisbane did 1, 2, 3, 4 kicks up the ground, then tried to break free. Like, to me, that's boring. But that's the reason that the coaches outsmart the rule makers. So excellent in regards to closeness, excellent first half, very good second half, but I wouldn't call it great compared to 20, 30 years ago. That's just my opinion.
No, and again, I don't have the ability to make that comparison because again, I've only watched the 89 grand final, which was I think it would be argued as one of the best of all time.
Oh, yeah.
If not the best. But it was a very solid game, and I have to tell you, and I saw something that was interesting because Peter Dacos, right? Yeah, the dad said that Nick said that Nick's injury was something that he still should not have been playing with after the game. That he said his injury was something that he still should have been out for a few more months. I saw that reported somewhere, which I was like, wow, if he was able to come back and perform at that level, being being dinged up the way that he was, I'm glad he's going relatively healthy now into the off season and has a chance to get himself ready to go for 2024. Now, again, I do not hope that the Pies repeat. Let's just go ahead and get that out in front there. But it was
Nick played good. I mean, I'll go through my best players, and I'm a little upset with some of these people naming some of the best players. So what I did, I wrote down at the end of each quarter who I thought my best players were. And then Saturday morning, I didn't even look at the statistics. I wrote down my votes for Norm Smith, my best players for Magpies, and my 6 best for the Lions. And then I looked at afl.com.au and I said, are you kidding me? Anyway, they go on statistics too much. We know that. But you want my best players, Norm Smith, and best players, or what?
Absolutely. No, let's just go ahead and end it here and call it a night.
All right. Well, Norm Smith, absolutely. Bobby Hill was best player, consistent over those 4 quarters. I didn't know he was that good. He was electrifying, brilliant. Could have kicked a couple more. He was absolutely best on ground. I thought Coleman for the Lions was second. Yes. He fell out of it a little bit in the second half. He was unbelievable in that first half. And third, I gave to Joe Danaher. Even in the first quarter, he was getting touches, and I'm thinking, well, he's not been dominant, but he was getting kicks in that first quarter. So I gave Danaher my 3rd best. 4th best, I gave still side bottom. And then 5th, I gave to Nick Dacos. So they were my 5 best on ground. And then I can run through best for Magpies and Lions as well.
Yeah, and Eric Hipwood was quite frankly, was really nowhere to be found. And again, I'm not trying to denigrate Eric Hipwood there, but he did not step up in this game at all. No. I have to say I was, Mason Cox, we're going to talk about him, I'm sure, but he held his own in the ruck. And I'll tell you what, I did not tip the Pies because I necessarily wanted to see, the American player win, but that was kind of a satisfying, addition to having gotten the tip right, is knowing that young man who has been, has come in and basically picked up a game from scratch.
Oh,
has worked his tail off, trying to develop some skills, in a game where, his biggest skill set is that he's tall. And he's had to learn other things. He's never going to be a big kick. He's good from about 35, 40 meters out at maximum. He's usually pretty accurate when he kicks, but he doesn't kick it, doesn't kick very many. But he did a pretty decent job. I mean, he had 31 hitouts. He had it was just a good, I think a really good game for him, and help with the help from Darcy Cameron there as well with another 19. I mean, they certainly, handled, McInerney and Joe Danner, who was only in there for a little bit, who only had 32 hitouts for the entire game. I you're going to have to explain to me, because, and when we get to talking about the advantage that was questioned at the end of the game, because I mean, I understand the concept of it, but it's still, that sort of thing happens so fast that I don't always grasp, and I probably should at this point in time. I don't always grasp what it is that I've seen happen. I understand the concept of what advantage is, and they've decided to play on, but he didn't. That was God, who was it? That was it. Lions? No, it was Jared Berry, wasn't it? The kick. I think it was at that point in time.
I was hoping the Lions won, so that decision kind of really upset me because it was crucial to the game. It absolutely could have changed the result of the game. So basically, they played advantage free kick when it wasn't advantage. The players didn't know, so he quickly rushed to kick onto his boot, kicked it up in the air.
Yeah.
So the umpire should have realised that it wasn't advantage and called it back and given the Lions player the free kick.
Free kick from there.
Then he could have gone back and kicked long. So I was very, very upset with that. It could have changed the outcome of the game. Absolutely. Yeah. Generally, I thought the umpiring was pretty good. But to think that the Lions got up by, was it 2 points, and then Collingwood came back with 2 quick goals, and I believe Mason Cox got those tap outs in those last 2 goals. So I'll tell you my best players, and I got into it with someone on Twitter or Facebook, and I talked to Dad, and Dad agreed. I had Mason Cox as 6th best player for the Magpies. He was very good in the first quarter. He beat McInerney in ruck. So I thought his tap work was good as well. So I had Mason Cox as 6th. I had Jack Crisp as 5th. I had Tom Mitchell as 4th.
Yeah.
Nick Dacos 3rd. Still side bottom 2nd. Now you could have put Dacos 2nd or side bottom 3rd. Right. Those two. And then of course Bobby Hill was best player. Now, I want to quickly talk about an absolute legend of the game, Scott Pendlebury. He had an amazing last quarter. He was probably best on ground in the last quarter. But halfway through the second quarter, I said, is that his first touch? So there's no way Scott Pendlebury was in the top 2 or 3 on the ground. Well, that's just my opinion. Brilliant player, great last quarter, but the media, they just like to hype up the legend players sometimes, and it's over the top for me. It really is. What's your opinion? I mean, maybe I missed a lot of his kicks.
And he still had, 24 touches though. I mean, that was, it was it was, he did not jump off the screen as, as a dominant player. I mean, and again, I think it's safe to say, that the game that Bobby Hill overshadowed a lot of people, because you can make an argument that he kind of took over that game. And it just, it was just, and, Pendlebury played a solid game. He had 4 tackles. I mean, I'm looking at Tom Mitchell, and he had 13 tackles. He had a baker's dozen's worth of tackles. I mean, it was, he was all over the place. And it's, 7 clearances, Pendlebury had 6 as well, but it's, I have to wonder if first of all, if Bobby Hill is still wearing, a Giants uniform, did the Giants beat him last week? And, if Bobby Hill wasn't in that lineup and, they'd gotten past the Giants, are they going to win that game? Who'd be stepping in for him? And would they have enough speed that Bobby Hill brought forward to help to propel them the way that he did? Because he was kind of the spark that kept that club going. I mean, last year it was Ginnivan a lot last year, and you didn't see a whole heck of a lot out of him. He kicked one behind, and that was it.
You know, it is hard in the modern AFL when it's such a tight game to really dominate, and there was probably only 3 or 4 dominant players on the ground. So I'll quickly go through my Lions' best players. Like I said, it was hard to, it really was hard, and this is my personal opinion, but I watched every play of the game. I gave Zorko 5th. Bailey kicked a couple of unbelievable goals early, gave him 4th. McCluggage 3rd. Danaher 2nd, and Coleman 1st. So they were
Yeah.
my 5
Oh
best
yeah,
players for the Lions.
Keaton Coleman was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's 6 tackles and 26 disposals. I mean, it was a great game on his part. It's and I think that I guess maybe it's too early to ask you this question, but if these two clubs are back at the MCG next year at the end of September, beginning of October, and they are as is, let's say the lists don't change a whole heck of a lot, and it sounds like there's going to be a few changes here and there because there always are changes on clubs. Do you think Brisbane gets up on them?
I think they can improve, but my thoughts, I think Giants should have probably won because I didn't think Maynard should have played last week.
Yeah.
But who knows? But a couple of more points. I mean, I listened to AFL Daily this morning. I like that show. I like Damien Barrett. I really do. But I got to disagree with him. Charlie Cameron had 4 kicks, 3 great goals, absolutely. But they named him 6th best player. Like, you can't get best player, can you, with 4? You can't get in the best players to me if you have 4 kicks for the whole game. Sure, his goals were great, but you didn't see him other than those 3 goals. And Harris Andrews, lovely player, fantastic player. He did nothing at all until the last quarter, yet they're giving him votes. So I know it's a personal opinion, but I just could not agree with people saying that Harris Andrews and Charlie Cameron were in best players. Not at all.
No, I don't disagree with you there. And I was really worried about whether or not Joe Danaher was going to blossom or flourish in this type of a setting, and he did. I mean, he played a great game. I mean, that's and I think that even the the rabid Bomber supporter who has been giving him grief since he left, that he's never shows up in big games and such, probably had to look at that and went, damn, he played a pretty good game today. It would be nice if we still had him back in our forward structure even yet to this day.
Yeah.
But it's and there were just so many neat stories that listening to Craig McRae at the end of the game when he's talking about how his wife had given birth to their daughter that morning. I mean, that's just like, I mean, I'm a 60-year-old man. I consider myself a bit of a hard ass, but I'm bawling my eyes out at home because again, I was like, wow. I mean, you've seen situations where, and I don't know. I mean, did I don't know if we'll ever know this or not, but did he say to his wife, is it okay? Are you going to be okay if I go to the game, or did she say to him, I got this, you go win a flag?
Oh, mate, you've touched on a subject to me that I am. Oh, you got a subject there, mate. I could go on for 10 minutes about this if you wanted.
Go for it.
Honestly, I don't have kids of my own.
Nearly
did, but I don't. But back years ago, there's no way you'd miss football to be with your wife having a baby. Things have changed. I know that. They absolutely have over the last 15, 20 years or whatever. But there's no way he would have missed coaching the grand final if his wife was about to have a baby in the afternoon. That's my opinion. Well, I actually get upset.
I mean, it sounded like she had the baby in the morning.
Yes.
Before the game. Yeah. Okay. So if the baby has been born, boy, we may be finding ourselves into trouble with this discussion here. If the baby's been born, his spouse may have very well said, you go win a premiership. But if she is in labor at that time, is he there for the game?
Of course he is. Now, this is my point. I've gotten in trouble with people arguing this.
And you might again.
My dad was not in the thing. You're sitting outside in the waiting room. And why would, to be honest, why would you want to go inside and cop abuse from your wife, saying, and she's in major pain, giving birth, yelling at you because you're a bastard because she's in so much pain? I've never understood that. But
Well,
years ago, the husband would sit out in the waiting room. They weren't allowed in the actual birth room or whatever you call it. Anyway,
yeah.
we better get off this. I might get
Well,
in trouble. But I'm
well,
old school in that way.
you
I
may
don't
already.
see why you have to be in the room.
Well, I was in the room when both of my children were born, and it was
Okay.
it was I remember it was with my son. We were watching a rerun of MASH on the television in the delivery room. I remember that. I remember, and we did not find out whether it was gonna be a boy or girl beforehand. So, their child's being born, comes out to about the belly button. You see the umbilical cord. So they start at that point in time. They're cleaning out the nasal passages and cleaning out all of this stuff out of, so the baby can breathe out outside of the womb and that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, I don't know if there's junk or no junk yet. Come on now, let's go ahead and finish the process here. So it was like another 5 minutes before I knew if it was a boy or a girl. But if he hears this, he's gonna be so pissed at me because he doesn't usually listen to it. But I may tell him to listen to this segment here. But yeah, I've seen it happen in a lot of sports here in the U.S. and maybe it is at times have changed. But if it's a a local league, if it's a one of the clubs that I give a shout out to every episode, if the spouse of one of those players that's on the A grade team or the reserve team is having a baby in the present day, I can and mom is in labor while during the game, I cannot imagine the dad not being there. I would be stunned.
No, I know, Craig, but when did it change? It must have all changed just before your time as a dad, because it never used to be that way. Now,
that's true.
What is it? Is it? I don't know this question. Personally, I would not need to be in the room. Sure, you want to be at the hospital, but I would not need to be in the room. I'd be in the waiting area. But what is it? Is it the wife demands the guy to be there, or is the guy too scared not to be there in case she cracks the shits at him? I don't know, mate. I don't know when it all changed. What, 30 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think it had, it was kind of going through some of like those birthing classes and things like that. And boy, have we gotten off track here, but you're right. We did all those kinds of things. And I was just there for support. And I can't imagine not having been in there. Now, would have you missed playing in the grand final for it though? I don't know. You answered this.
I
think if my child was being born, there's a distinct possibility that I would say, you know what, I might have to be there for my kid. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I might have to be there for that.
And do that now.
Yeah,
I'm not,
but and again,
do that now. I just don't understand it personally.
Yeah, at the grand final level, I mean, it would maybe be a harder decision. But if I was in the local league where afterwards we're heading into our clubhouse and and knocking back a few furfies and a snag or two, I don't think I could live with myself having not been at the hospital. I'm sure
hang on. Back in the day, people would play, and as soon as they'd finish playing, they'd rush to the hospital. That's how it was.
Yeah.
And it always was that way. But hey, I don't want young kids to think I'm a prick. I'm just saying it's the way it was.
No, I agree.
I'm too old to have kids now anyway, so it's never gonna be an issue for me anyway. Move on to another subject.
That is not no, hang on. That is not true. Because Robert De Niro, who is in his 80s, just had his wife, I guess. I'm assuming he's remarried. His wife just had a child. Tony Randall, who was in his late 70s, he's since passed away. He had it, who was it was Felix on the TV show The Odd Couple. He He and his wife had a baby when he was like 75.
Well, that's stupid.
Now, and it goes back to a line from MASH when Radar was on there talking about how his parents were so old when he was born. He said, remember him saying that first time he played peekaboo with his father had a stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to I'll send you some lingo. You want to get some Aussie lingo?
We'll before we do that, can we talk about the medal awards before we do that? Because there have been people who've been so upset about Bo McCreary and Mason Cox because they didn't, I love the fact that they get little kids involved with that have the club's jumper on. They come out and present them the premiership medal, and they give the kid a cap. They generally shake hands with them, but Mason Cox and Bo McCreary did not shake hands with the child that brought out their premiership medal to them, and they have been absolutely vivisected on social media. And as I told you off air before we started recording, I had never heard the word seppo until a couple of weeks ago, and I have seen it so many times in the last 2 weeks since you brought that term up to me. People calling.
Ready?
There were people calling Mason Cox a seppo because he did not shake hands with this little kid. But I would have to. I'm going to cut both of them some slack. Yes, you're supposed to shake hands with the kid. It's kind of the neat thing to do, but you've just won a damn premiership medal. Mason.
There's nothing in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like I told you, I said I think it's probably some disgruntled supporters of other clubs whose clubs were not playing in the grand final, who were pissed off about it. I'm hoping that the Magpie supporters were just so over the moon about the fact that they'd won that they really didn't give two shits one way or the other about it. But if you're bent out of shape because they didn't shake hands with these kids, I'm sorry. And again, I sound a little bit like a hypocrite because I'm talking about having missed a game to go to the birth of a kid, and the kid didn't get his hand shaken. So I sound like a little bit of an asshole myself here, or a prick, like you said. But I think that, I would not be shocked if both of them have not reached out to their respective kid and maybe issued an apology, or maybe he's going to, send them their boots or something of that along those lines.
Hang on. I didn't see it. The reason I didn't see it because it was nearly 2 a.m. my time, and as soon as Bobby Hill was announced, Norm Smith, I went to bed.
Yeah.
So normally the player puts a cap on the kid, and they have caps.
Yeah.
So he probably just forgot.
Yeah, they did.
Big deal unless I'm wrong. I'm assuming they just forgot, and there's no big deal.
That's exactly right. But like I said, people are crucifying them online about it, and of course, people have since Mason Cox has been in the game, there have been a group of people that have continually, and again, I'm not trying to be an American apologist here, not at all, but people have continually tried to talk about he doesn't have a place there and such. But I think we can both safely say that young man has worked his ass off to find a role with the Magpies, and he's performing well in that role, and he's doing well enough.
He proved him wrong. He wasn't even the starting ruckman at the start of the year.
He's doing well enough now that that they felt comfortable enough with the guy who did become the starting ruckman and him to say, we're going to go ahead and send a 2-time All-Australian somewhere else and actually pay part of his salary to help save some money. And yet they still won the premiership without that guy.
Yeah.
So that's
still good.
Yeah,
still good.
Exactly.
I wouldn't worry about it. There's negative clowns online. Drive me nuts, mate.
Yeah.
Drive me nuts.
So we're gonna try to turn this around today, because you're gonna try to give me some lingo to see how badly I butcher this. And I'm just gonna say right now, I'm probably gonna get all of them wrong. Okay.
Nah, I'll do a bit of Aussie football. I'll do a bit of Aussie football term. You'll get. Okay. I just thought of this now. I reckon you'll get all three of them anyway. A specky. What's a specky?
Oh, specky's taking like a great mark. He's getting one mark where you're climbing up on somebody's back. Exactly. Yeah. That was an easy one. Come on now. I mean, my wife has never even watched footy, and she probably would know that one.
All right. Well, I'm just
because she thinks I'm special. I'm not sure. She says, "Yeah, you're really special." Yeah, and so I'm not sure what she means by that, but she thinks I'm special.
All right. Now the next one, it obviously has two terms, but there's one to do with Aussie football, and the first one is, well, the first meaning of it is to have a crap. What does bog mean in regards to Aussie football?
Bog is best on ground, isn't it?
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
that's funny.
that's
You
yeah
bog.
yes. Well, and hopefully Nathan Buckley did not bog on the couch of best on ground and Jonathan Brown or anything like that. Hopefully Jonathan did not brown the couch.
Yeah. All right, another one for Aussie football. What's it mean by a bag?
A bag, I think, is it 5 goals at least? Or is
Wow,
it
it's
8?
just kicking a bag of goals.
Okay, like
So
a whole
yeah,
bunch of them, yeah.
forward count. I reckon
Okay.
Bobby Hill's forward count as a bag. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's those are pretty simple then. I thought you were going to give me something tough.
Well, you just told me as we started the show to give you some, so I hadn't had 2
Yeah,
minutes
that's
to
true.
think
That's
about
true.
it.
Yeah, because I've been giving you the other ones.
You might get this one. What's a Noah's Ark?
A Noah's Ark. Is it kicking 2 goals and 2 behinds?
Actually, it's not to do with football. Sorry, I mucked up there.
Okay.
It's not to do with Aussie football.
Not a clue.
Ark.
Not a clue.
No? It sounds like this fella here. A Noah's Ark is a terminology for a shark.
Okay. I would not have gotten that one. Yeah,
just stupid shit we say back home.
For those of you who've been wondering, who've been listening while we've been doing the slang stuff, this is the book that I've been working out of right here with Myk. Okay, my sister got that for me for my 60th birthday earlier this year, so I've been pulling the terms out of that. Now, I've not actually filled out the word search stuff in it, but I've been putting little dots next to the ones that we've used so I don't use them again. And there's like 75 pages of these, and some of them I know the terms, and we're not going to use these on the show because I've heard what is happening in terms of the possible pursuit of censoring podcasts in your country. That's come out of. Oh no, have you not been following along that a certain administration is trying to crack down on things that are on podcasts in a certain country that one of us lives in?
No, I can't stand the guy running our country, so let's not go there.
Okay, but I just actually saw that on the news today. So
now I got to go see a lady with a baby soon. Should we move on to the favorite game?
Yes, we should. And again, for those of you that don't know about this is I've done a series of episodes like this last year, and I'm going to be doing some of these as well, where I have a guest on to talk about their most memorable game or their favorite game. And Myk has been kind enough to share a couple of his with us while we're here today before he has to go see a lady about a baby. Which is rather ironic because he wouldn't bother to go see the baby. He'd just be out on the ground bogging it up all over the place instead of going to see the baby.
I was actually telling my girlfriend about that saying. So basically, if you say to someone, "Hey, I got to go see a lady with a baby," it means that other person can't criticize you for leaving. So it's like an excuse, and it's a saying where, "Hey, I gotta go, right? Then no one will argue with you, right?"
And you say, "Deuces." Yeah. So, tell me about your most memorable game, because I'm not even sure where we're going with this one here, because you talked about one that you played
as a player or to watch.
Well, either one.
Oh,
or maybe you introduce one here and then you come back, a little bit later on and we do the other one and we go a little bit more extensive into that one.
No, that's all right. I'll do it quickly now. Obviously, as a player, I grew up before the AFL, so the VFL was the strongest league in Melbourne, and then the SANFL was the second strongest league, and there was no national competition. So as a kid, all you dream about is playing a league game in the SANFL. And I trained with West Torrens and then didn't make it, but went to Flinders Park for 2 years, got invited to Woodville, played 7 reserves games, and then my 8th game, I got asked and I made my first game in SANFL before the Crows came in. So it was incredible, tough competition. So that would obviously be a favorite game because you grow up dreaming of that and you never know whether you'll achieve it. The second probably favorite game would be after Woodville. I went back to Gawler South and played in the 1992 Premiership against Freeling at the Newry Oval. So that was obviously a highlight to play in my first A-grade Premiership for the club I grew up playing with in junior Colts through to A-grade.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I know you said that you played alongside several players, several people who have gone on to, one of the, wasn't it Travis Head's dad that you played alongside?
Yeah, he played.
Yeah.
He played in that '92 grand final. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's kind of cool that you have that connection because I was watching some of the third ODI in India. And they had looked not great the first couple of games with India, and they looked pretty decent in the third one here recently in the last couple of days. But I mean, that's gonna be kicking off here soon, and that's a huge
yeah,
tournament, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And real quick, my favorite game that I've been at and watched would obviously be the Adelaide Crows' first premiership in '97. We went across for the prelim. Next morning, the Sunday morning, Phil and I luckily got tickets, and then we drove back to Melbourne and saw the Crows defeat St Kilda in 1997. And of course, the main thing I remember about that game is when Malcolm Blight, the legend coach, moved Darren Jarman to full forward. So he would start him in the middle and he'd run down to full forward. I think he kicked 5 goals in that last quarter. So McLeod and Jarman and Bickley and all the Adelaide Crows boys. I was there live when they won their first of 2 AFL Grand Finals.
Yeah, speaking of the grand final, let me ask you this here. And is it did I did not watch the Kiss performance, but did you watch them this year? The band?
Well, what happened? I was actually on Gabe's show at the time, and our
Okay.
broadcast started on TSN here at 10, and
Hmm.
it was actually before that. But I can easily send you a 12 minutes on YouTube of AFL of Kiss, and yeah, bad luck because Gabe asked you to come on at the
I
same
know.
time with
Yeah.
me, but that's a bit unfortunate.
And
You
I
didn't
and
get
I
that
feel
message. That
I
would have
feel
been
bad
good.
about that. I did apologize to him because I didn't check my social media during the football game that I was announcing. And when I got home, it was like I just kind of vegged out and sat down on the couch and relaxed. And
Could have you got home in time or not? Could have you
oh,
got home
yeah,
in time or not?
had I been home, I could have. If not, I could have done it right from there in the press box. Also, I had,
Oh,
there
right.
was,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
we had, I was only in the press box because the reporter that covers our games quite often was there. I mean, yeah, I was still there an hour and a half after the game was done because I have to wait for him to finish writing his story and get it
Right.
submitted. So I'm sitting up in the press box. I was watching cricket up in the press box while he was working on the story. I think I was actually watching highlights of like the second ODI with um Australia and India, and India just blew them out of the water in that one, if I'm not mistaken. But it was
Right.
yeah, I didn't turn on the pregame stuff. I figured I've never been really big into like the Super Bowl pregame stuff. I don't.
Nah.
They start pregame stuff at like 6 o'clock the previous evening for the next night. And it's I don't
Yeah.
care. The band things, the mashups where they try to find what performer is going to perform with whom at halftime. I don't care. Give me, and I think I've
Nah,
said
I'm
this
with
to
you,
you
mate.
before. Give me two of the top college marching bands in the country and let them perform at the Super Bowl. Just let the marching bands perform because I
Yeah.
think it's
What
yeah,
what was really cool? What was really cool with the Kiss? They had like hundreds of kids
yeah,
on the ground as well,
yeah,
all dressed up, and then they had a couple of kids on the stage, and this one guy was doing the air guitar. So I thought it was good. But I'm a
yeah.
Kiss fan since
But
a teenager, right?
it was significantly better than Meatloaf, and hopefully hopefully their performance has helped Australia get the taste of spoiled meatloaf out of their mouth, if you will. Okay.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah.
again, they'll never forget Meatloaf's performance. And I was a huge Meatloaf fan, loved him going all the way back to when he was in the film Rocky Horror Picture Show. Um, yeah, which I've seen dozens and dozens of times, but it was it was an ugly performance that he was in. So I think Kiss did a nice job from what I saw. I saw a few highlights of it, but you could tell that Gene has had some work done on his costume over the years because yeah,
Yeah,
there's a little bit more Gene than there was say 30 years ago, as there has been
yeah.
for many people. But I'm pretty stoked about the way things went with the game. Again, your club wasn't playing, my club wasn't playing. It was an entertaining game, and it's a game that, again, if and I saw plenty of Americans that were talking about it online, their first encounter with an AFL game, and whenever I saw that, I would try to reach out to that person, at least mention to them, hey, this is what I've been following it for a long time, and I have this document that I've set up that is like 15 different little videos from YouTube about the game on there, and I said I always put a link to that doc on there and said, here's some stuff that I put together about the game. If you got any questions, there are lots of us here that are thrilled to get more Americans involved with the game. So it's just kind of cool that some people get excited with it then. So yeah. So if I asked you right now, and trade period hasn't started, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. Early prediction for next year's grand final.
I think Brisbane will bounce back after losing such close one. I think Brisbane will bounce back.
I know you want to say the Roos.
Oh, it could be a repeat, couldn't it? Could be Brisbane Collingwood again.
It absolutely could.
I hope not Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, I hope not, of course. I hope not Melbourne. I will go Brisbane and the Crows. There you go.
There you go. Well,
I forgot to mention I have the Waratahs jersey on that you sent me. There you go.
I did see that. Yes, I did.
Thanks,
yeah.
Man.
Looks good, man. It looks good. I mean, trust me, I don't look good in the jumpers. Okay. That's not a look for me unless I have like a shirt on underneath it. I'm not one of those guys that's going to go around, my guns have been oiled way too well, if you know what I mean. They kind of they wobble to and fro, if you know what I mean there. So, but yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it, because you should have had that. You should have that thing there, because you played for that club, and I was more than happy to send that on. I thought my wife was going to mail it from Canada when she was up there, but she actually mailed it from work before she left. So it may have taken a little bit longer to get there than had she mailed it when she crossed the border. But I don't know. But hey, man, I know we're going to reach out and still chat about things, during the off season, maybe get you on to talk a little cricket as well as things are going on. Cause I'm going to, start getting into that. And, cause I don't, I'm not all that big into the NFL. Like I said, I'll watch the Browns, and they played like shit yesterday. I'll tell you what, I don't mind losing to any other club. I just hate losing to the Ravens. I hate them so much. I really do. I hate the Ravens. I know it's just, God, I hate the Ravens. Okay, enough of that. But hey, man, where can people find your work? And I know you got your cricket stuff winding down for this year.
Yeah, well, there we go. There's the Edmonton Cricket TV on Facebook and YouTube, and up the back there you see MykAussie.tv. So MykAussie.tv is updated with all my different sports pages. But it's been fun again doing the tips with you all year. So
now, real quickly, since we've not done the video from this location where we're going to actually be putting a video up on YouTube, tell us about that picture that's over your left shoulder.
Tom Brady.
Tell us about that one.
That was painted by Kendra Hale, who you had her on your show. She's a Canadian professional artist that played for the Essendon Bombers, and I believe she retired this year, but she played some good football for Essendon Bombers in the Victorian women's, and she was on the Collingwood list for a while. And that is the painting from Tom Brady's first ever interview, other than Super Bowl, after his first Super Bowl win. And I was filming him at Pro Bowl when he arrived to training. There was only about 10 of us media guys there, and he came out and he says, "Oh yeah, it's been a great 24 hours playing cards on the plane, having a few drinks." So that's a little 2-minute interview, and I made a painting of it that maybe one day I'll sell as an NFT, the video as well. But NFTs, I don't know, mate. They're all over the place. Not sure if they're going to last or not. But yeah, very unique. Tom Brady's first interview after his first Super Bowl win.
Well, I was actually talking about the sticker that was next to it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm
It
actually
said
kidding about
sticker.
that. Yeah, I know. I'm giving you a hard time about that. But no, that is really cool that Kendra did that for you. But
Yeah.
well, hey
Well,
mate.
it cost me money. I paid a
No.
good money, but it's all
Oh no,
good.
I know you did. I know you did, but it's yeah, and it's I'm glad she was able to fit it into her schedule and such, and and she does great work. I mean, I've seen her
Yeah.
work. Like you said, I had her on the podcast. She does great work. Terrific young lady. Great representative of Canada. Um, so
Check this one out. How's this for a photo?
okay, who's falling down there?
So that was taken as we ran through the big banner
Uh-huh.
and we won the 92 South Gawler Lions flag as I was talking about it. So that's a
Yeah,
great picture running through the banner. Eh?
that absolutely is there. It
There we go.
looks a little interesting in terms of yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and keep that thought in my head. But yeah,
And that's the premiership photo. The way you
okay.
do it back in the day. Beautiful
Yeah.
picture all sitting there
Now,
together.
and you decided to the following year after you tweaked your hamstring, you decided not to be in the photo. I remember you saying.
That's yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
We
So
talked about that.
do you regret that at all?
Nah, not at all.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
at all.
Because
I didn't
I know
play.
that,
I was pissed off I
you know,
didn't play.
I know, our high school won the state championship in football back in 1999. And there was one kid on the team that was not at the stadium for picture day because he had to work a shift at the local amusement park. So that picture hangs up in the hallway at our school. And it's got, I mean, I'm in the picture because I was coaching at that point in time. And but here's all the players that are there, all these terrific players that were playing there. One of them went on to play at South Carolina. One played at Ohio State. There's some phenomenal players. One of them ripped my bicep in half when I was coaching. And then at the bottom it says missing, and it names the player who was not there for the photo
Yeah,
because he
that's
had to work.
sad.
He had to
That's
work that
sad.
day. Yeah.
That's sad.
Well, he didn't play in the championship game either. So there is that. But nice kid, nice kid,
Well, that's not
nice
too
kid
bad.
though.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yep. Well, hey Mick. So MykAussie.tv and Edmonton Cricket TV. Are you going to be doing anything to kind of recap the cricket season on Edmonton Cricket TV, or are you going to just kind of fold the tent up for this
Yeah,
year
what
now?
we did, we put up a video last night, and I interviewed some of these people. But Philip Hicks, the founder, he basically did quick interviews with like 50 players and fans. So we got a 30-minute video of a lot of 30-second clips of 50 to 60 players just saying what they love about cricket and what we
Outstanding.
can improve in Edmonton. So that's up. So that's really good.
Outstanding. That is great. That's awesome. And it sounds like it's growing there as well.
Well, yes, and we got to get more fields. That's the main thing. With all the immigrants coming, there's a lot of more people would love to play cricket. So
Mhm.
we got to get more fields, and Philip's making some inroads into doing that.
Well,
But I can't say too much.
and he has to remind the
All right.
city. He has to remind the city that they actually have to cover the pitch from time to time when it's getting ready to rain.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
All right. Good to see
Hey,
you,
Mick,
man. And
great to
look
talk
forward
with
to
you.
the next season with the beautiful Sharon, eh?
You bet, man. I have a Burley up there. Well, I've got a Sharon over here as
Oh,
well, but
they're no good.
well,
All right. See
it's
you later,
what I
mate.
could afford at that time. Cheers, mate.
All right.
Bye-bye. All right, Mick. Hey, mate, I appreciate you coming on again this evening and chatting about the grand final. And quite frankly, I think it was a story that needed to be told about, what would you do in certain situations? If your partner, your spouse is giving birth, did people make too much out of the Bo McCreary, Mason Cox situation where they did not shake hands with the youngsters that shared their premiership medals with them? I'm hoping that like I said, I'm hoping that they figured out some way to go about resolving that a little bit. Maybe they got a sign jumper or their boots or something like that, because it was an oversight, but it still isn't necessarily a great look for the club. But folks, look out for one another. Check up on your friends. Don't be afraid to shake hands with them. And reach out to them. If you need to talk to somebody, all those numbers I have in my show notes every single week. Talk to somebody if you need help. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, because we all need help from time to time. Remember, you can find everything related to my podcast over at my website, ayankonthefooty.com. Got several great blog posts there. If you want to leave a review, you can certainly do that, as we talked about earlier. If you want to help out the show, you can click on that Buy Me a Coffee button, which is on the left-hand side. There's a little button there, as well as the rectangle on the right-hand side. That money goes to help keep the lights on, if you will, here with the podcast. And yeah, truly, truly appreciate it. If you decide you want to help out the podcast, that'd be absolutely wonderful. I've not put anything behind a paywall. I don't have any plan on doing that in the foreseeable future, but yeah, if you want to help keep the podcast running, this labor of love of mine would be greatly appreciated. So, I'm a one-man band here doing all of the work on this one. So if you enjoy it, be a great way to show it if you'd like to do so. If you got an idea for a great guest for the podcast, again, reach out to me at yankonthefooty@gmail.com, at yank_on on Twitter, Yank on the Footy podcast over on Facebook, Yank on the Footy on Instagram. And ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the kind words. This was a great grand final that we just watched. Let's enjoy these last 6 rounds of the regular season of the AFLW as we also then transition into cricket season. Really looking forward to that. Looking forward to the one-day internationals. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to watch every single game live or anything like that. I just won't have time to do that. But I do plan on checking out quite a few of the games, at least watching highlights and that sort of thing. And folks, before I wrap up, as always, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later. And this has been episode 292 of the Yank on the Footy. Again, thanks for listening. And please consider sharing the podcast with your friends and family. And until next time, goodbye.